Okay, I think that we are online. And my name is Chus Martínez, and I am the head of the Art Institute in Basel. Originally, I come from Spain. I'm a curator, a writer. I wouldn't say an educator because that's a little bit preposterous. I don't know if I am that, but I work in education. And I've been asked today to share some file of my desktop with you. So that's been really creating a lot of anxiety because I never share a video with anybody. Not because I don't want to share a video with anybody, but because I cannot share a video or my screen with anybody, because even after I don't know how many months of lockdown, I've been always in a team situation, and some very generous colleagues helped me to do so, but I've been trying to do that tonight. And there is a material, or there is a video that I have in my desktop always, and it's some sort of transitional object, if you want, or some sort of a teddy bear, or like a video element that helps me through life because I love it, and I have no idea how it actually ended up being there. I think that I may have asked the artist. The artist is Andrea Frazier, and the video is by a collective called the Big Girls. It's a collective that was formed in '86, and Andrea has been actively part of it, and they were active for 10 years, more or less. And the one that I'm going to show to you is from 1990. And they were some sort of actions or performances that they consist on lectures. And what I love about it is that it's totally soaked in intelligence and humor. And sometimes when I don't have any mood anymore, I put a little bit of it, and then I watch it and I love it, and I fall in love with the humor, with the language, with the intelligence, with the wittiness, but also with the reality of the reality that they are talking about, the inequality, and the fact that indeed not much change. So if I got this kind of hubris that you can change many things, I think we can, but it's also very nice to have a reminder of how slow changes and transformations are, and how important it is to try, and also that all the languages that we use for those transformations are valid. So what I love about this film is that humor and content are at the same level, and that the format, the lecture, is also there. And I wish, and I've been thinking a lot about it, like now imagine poor students all over the planet facing Zoom, facing the boredom of looking at a camera, looking at a screen, listening to a talking head. And then none of us has been able really to provide them with joy and fun, because it's very difficult to do that. And I think, wow, that would be so immense if we could deliver not only the ideas, but also deliver them in a way that people would just, stay there and think, oh, we had such a great time. And actually, not only I want to transform the world because we must, not only I want social justice because it's the only way to go and we must, but also there is an incredible joy that collectively could be activated because of a certain sense of humor, a very intelligent sense of humor and wittiness could be put at play. So I show you my Teddy, and I hope I can do it. So it's a very long, it's a 1 hour because it's a lecture video. So I'm gonna show only parts of it, and then perhaps, well, we cannot comment it together, but it feels as if you are there and I could comment it together. So I'm gonna comment it as if I know all of you and we share it. So have fun.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Susan Kahn. I'm the Curator of Education here at the New Museum, and I'd like to welcome you all to tonight's program, The Question of Many is Olympia, Posed and Skirted, being presented by the V-Girls. I first heard about the V-Girls while at my last job in the Education Department at the Museum of Modern Art. In retrospect, that wasn't a bad job, although the benefits here are better. I mean, the 4 weeks paid vacation is the same, but here the health coverage is better. After the $200 deductible, we get 80% of most medical care, 50% of psychotherapy, and 100% of all routine dental care. The free cleanings are really great. At this job, though, I have more administrative responsibility. I mean, every once in a while, I get out of the office to do a gallery talk or something, But most of the time, it's just meetings, meetings, meetings. That's why doing an introduction like this is very exciting for me. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Before we begin this evening, I'm going to introduce our panelists individually, and then just say a few words that might help situate our discussion overall. As a collective, we are the V-Girls, an informal group of scholars and members meeting regularly to question ourselves and others. On the far end, this is Andrea Frazier. Andrea has sat on many panels, lectured at museums and universities, and written numerous articles. Her work has centered primarily around Oedipal configurations, or more broadly, the family constellation, as represented in early Renaissance painting and contemporary presidential debates. Beside Andrea, this is Jessica Chalmers of the City College of New York. Jessica is a teacher and an avant-gardist. Of her first book, Stalking the Undone, the art historian John Ruskin wrote, "The degree of doubt manifest here is monumental. It will be a wonder if any avant-garde practice exists following its publication." Jessica's new book, Grope, Grope, Rummage, will appear in the fall. Beside me, this is Erin Kramer. Erin is a theater director, writer, scholar, and theorist. Definitely a theorist. Almost like a German theorist of the 30s and 40s. With heavy eyebrows, who's been recently rediscovered, providing a fresh understanding of the postmodern years ahead of his time. Turn to the side. You see what I mean? Erin's books are truly groundbreaking. On the Body Part 1, More on the Body, and again the body. Our next contender, panelist. Our next panelist is Marianne Weems in the middle. Marianne has published over 25 articles in her last 20 years of scholarship. And she's designed challenging teasers and crosswords. Her books include Knowledge, Language, Perception, Deconstruction, and the Commodity, published by Halt Reindeer, and recently How to Photograph Friends and Strangers. My name is Martha Baer. I think I belong here. I haven't done that much. But I'm young, and I think I'll do more. Now, I'd like to speak just briefly about tonight's panel as a whole. When we came upon the title of this panel, The Question of Manet's Olympia, Posed and Skirted, I at first thought I might provide some historical information regarding the painting. But on second thought, I felt that the painting was probably familiar to most of us. And since our panelists will be interrogating, if you will, even overworking the topic, in a sense beating it into the ground, I decided to address instead the question of the panel itself. The itself being so compelling. I myself find myself constantly returning to it, returning, inquisitively. There's a kind of lovely naivete about the way I theorize the object.
I would begin then by asking, what precedes the itself? Well, for our purposes tonight, it is, of course, the panel itself. And because we as a group have had a chance over the years to consider collectively the nature of the panel discussion, I thought it was appropriate to discuss it here. We've sat together many times on panels, and we've thought together very often about the function of the panel discussion, the format, the fruitfulness, the fecundity as it embodies, if you will, the structure of society as a whole. It was as far back, I believe, as 1969 that we appeared jointly on a panel. This was in Marseille, I think, spring. Gorgeous. It was then that Marianne delivered her remarkable paper, as coincidence would have it, on Manet. A paper entitled Man A, Woman B.
Yes, that's right, Mark.
It was at that point that Aaron first raised the question, what is the panel discussion? To which Andrea responded quite concisely, the panel is an ideal pedagogical vehicle that effectively counters the usual signifiers of expertise and demands a long table. Throughout the 70s, then, we sat on several panels as a group. One of these, which was particularly successful, was in Rio, right? We stopped in St. Martin. Really? Right, there was that fabulous dinner. And it was entitled The Female Body in Our Solar System. Specifically then, in relation to the female body and Jessica's staggering paper on the artist has big penis, we fully formulated a conception of the panel as the locus of, shall we say finally, a diffuse or a different, a difficult learning that, like its counterpart world history, is not finished. Keeping these remarks in mind, then, we'll move on to our first paper, shifting back now to Manet, Andrea Frazier.
Thank you, Martha. The paper that I'll be presenting this evening is entitled My Man, Manet. While ridiculed by the public and scarcely better understood by his own friends, Edouard Manet was in fact one of the most charming men of his day. Gay, witty, mocking but not spiteful, he was a perfect man of the world. He was a revolutionary rooted in tradition, profound and imponderable, by nature a forerunner, brilliant, impulsive, accomplished, adept, adroit, adventurous, affectionate, affluent,
Andrea?
agreeable, ambitious.
Thank you, Andrea.
Oh, thank you.
And to continue, Marianne Weems.
Thank you, Martha. Critics have long observed that the images which make up an artist's vocabulary can be viewed as an open book, disclosing secrets to us about the life of the artist. Tonight, I will introduce material discovered during my last research trip to Manet's home. And here I must pause to thank Philip Morris, Rockwell International, and AT&T for their generous contribution. In short, with the introduction of Manet's letters to his florist, an authentic study of Manet's obsessive-compulsive characteristics can begin. I will open with a note Manet penned just as he began Olympia to Monsieur Bernard Morand, a florist located a few blocks from Manet's studio. March 2nd, 1863. Monsieur Morand, I cannot stand the geraniums. Please send something pink and less expensive. Yours sincerely, Edouard Manet. This telling reference to money, a preoccupation throughout his life, is echoed in the notes to follow. Bernard, the pinks are better, but the wrapping paper is awful. Do you not have anything white and only slightly rumpled? Send it in the back way, Edouard Manet. We see Manet's transference onto the florist develop as he becomes more confessional, more demanding in his relationship. Note the salutation.
Cher, Bernard. Mallory and Charles both get their boutonnières by 3 o'clock. Why do mine always come at the last minute? And never mind your feelings about blue hydrangeas. Do you hear me? I want them blue. Je t'embrasse, Ed. Due to the constraints of time, I must move here to the definitive last letter written by Bernard, the florist, to Manet. The relationship reached its untimely end when Bernard was forced out of business by a price war in the flower market. The letter is telling in its warmth and simplicity. Dear customer, going out of business. Everything must go, 50% off, hurry now. Bernard Maron, florist.
Thank you, Marianne. And now Jessica Chalmers will present her paper entitled The Painting of the Modern Wife, Olympia's Druthers.
The argument that in 1865, prostitutes were, as it were, absolutely everywhere. Well, let's say that a man might know his wife, certainly, but the pedigree of Madame or Mademoiselle quelque chose would always remain in question. Therefore, for the 19th century viewer, it was unclear if Olympia was a nude or a prude, a femme honnête or a fille publique, a consort or a courtesan, a Madonna or an Olivia Newton-John. The John actually is the crux of the question. John being in this case not John the Baptist, John the Toilet, or any one of you doubting Thomases out there. No, I'm referring to John, the name of a father, not the name of the father, which is Jacques, but the name of my father, or any potential client or viewer of the Olympia. Beauty is and was in the eye of the John. Now, obviously, the problematic here turns on, we may say, revolves around or palpitates upon the problem of the nude, my problem with appearing here on this panel nude this evening, as well as the epistemological distinctions between the states of being nude and the states of being unclothed, stripped, or in the raw. Now, a 19th century gentleman would have been comfortable with the image of a naked historical figure, or in the privacy of his home, he would have enjoyed taking in a real tramp. But he was confounded by Olympia, who connects the disconcerting state of nudity with the kind of self-possession ordinarily associated with the honest woman. Clearly, a man's patience is sorely tried by this image of the Mrs., lying exposed upon a sofa which has for time immemorial been reserved for Venus, for whores, or for virgins. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. And now Martha Bear will present her paper entitled Manet's Olympia, a Better Paella. Thank you, Martha. I would like to pinpoint at this point what I feel is the central oxymoron in the subject and production of Manet's Olympia. Now, this oxymoron, drawing, if I may, from rhetoric in order to indicate the precision with which I approach this problem, is situated not on the level of being, but rather at the intersection of being and doing, a crossroads yet to be clarified by critics of Olympia, clever though they thought they might have been. Of course, it is primarily the black woman attendant who is doing in the scene by bringing flowers, doing for Olympia, who paradoxically is doing nothing, whereby she does what she does as subject of the painting, being, of course, what she does elsewhere. To do, however, is different from to be, and it is this point to which the cat cannot attest being unable to do otherwise. But what finally does this configuration of doing do for the viewer, who, in being that which the not doing on the part of Olympia is done for, does something else? What we have here is a relationship. On the one hand, we have a relationship between being and doing, and on the other, between painting and viewing. Perhaps it would help to show this graphically. So. Thank you. Therefore, by recognizing the schematization of participation in Manet's Olympia with its roots in the register of doing as it pertains to being and viewing, I think we can at last move on. Thank you.
I don't know if I am doing this right. Well, I just wanted to say a few words by now you just got the you just got the humor of the video, or why I may like it. And it's actually very difficult to talk after listening to them, because there's an incredible intelligence in the way that they use language, and there's so many things that we can say. Probably for me, the most important one is the fact that we have been all the time, and now even more than ever because of the situation, looking for new formats. And when one says that I'm looking for a new format, it means that we are actually looking for a new way of engaging and a new way of understanding communicability, so that we actually don't want to be alone. So I'm talking to my computer right now, thinking but hoping that you are there. So the question of how to reach out, how to be with others, is fundamental to the artistic practice, but it's fundamental to the artistic socialization. And of course, the content, and we all know what this video is addressing and talking about, but I love the fact that they dramatize it, that they just did some sort of a theater play around the problems that we are all the time facing, the standardization, the academization, of course, the fact that by far women, we are not, still not, and women and all genders occupy the same balance and situation of opportunities. It's not justice, not at all. And I like that they create a situation for the audience to be so relaxed that they can laugh at the same time. I love the fact that that's a live situation that has been recorded, and that we can be an audience with the audience in that floor, laughing with them, listening to them, but also see how they are kind of staging all this incredible senseless language in a way that was invented to make more sense or better sense, the constructive sense, academic sense, scholarly sense, and also covering up many times as a language the problems and the malfunctions of the artistic system. So I totally admire it, and that's why I have it in my desktop. And I think that they are an inspiration in so many ways. And also you see a conviviality in this collective, and a way of understanding the performatic that it resonates not only with me, but is something that I sometimes show, as I did today, to students of ours, not as a material only, or as the work of art of fantastic Andrea Frazier in the collective Big Girls, but also as something very emotional, because I still remember when I was a student at the university and I couldn't make sense. I was in the US in college, and I was with other girls like me trying to figure out what my teachers were talking about in talking those words, and then just like doing circles around the words and making just lists of words that we could use to become smart or to appear smart, and then we were like trying to talk like them in the performance. So in a way, the performance of them, of the Big Girls, is the performance that we have been doing as a student, try to rehearse that language that totally didn't resonate. We couldn't understand what is the itself, and how the itself resonates in itself. And again, the body. So yeah, that's the reason. And I hope that you enjoy it. The video can be found online. It's not an easy material to find. And I must say, another consideration now that we are in the digital era is that lots of those amazing materials are not so easy to share. And one does not know what they are, and how can we create, remember, those times when it was video programs, create programs, because many of the things disappear from internet, they die, or they are in corners that they are very difficult to find it if you don't know what you are looking for. And it's also a way of looking at the position of the artist inside really an intelligent space where the theatrical gets a new soul, and also it's inspiring, even more so now that we are thinking about the digital, and nothing is so often so alive as this super group of artists, preparing just to both entertain, but most of all made us reflect, but also with joy. And I totally, I'm very Spinozian. I think joy is fundamental to make transformations, and so that's the reason. I show you some few more minutes, and then I would say goodbye. So,
Martha. And now, Aaron, do you have something ready for us?
Yes, Martha, I'm putting the finishing touches on a new paper of mine, but I thought that I could offer you an excerpt of the work of mine that you mentioned earlier.
The body.
The body. Yours and mine. Well, for starters, I'm up here behind this table. That's a scenically privileged position for my body. Your body is seated in the audience. That's quite different. Any questions?
Manet's best friend, or the paw print unseen. I would like to briefly address a subject which has hounded the psychoanalytic institution, namely the gaze which is trained upon us as we roam the fields and streets, the one who ubiquitously follows. Yes, the gaze of the dog is one of devotion, of dedication. But let us not shy away from the question of desire. Just as the man strolling through the salon sees the form of Olympia, so the canine subject at his heel casts his desiring gaze towards the cat. Dog or man is no longer at the level of demand, but of desire, of the desire of the other. He lays down his gaze like a bone before the painting, a panting, domped regard before the lure which is given to his mute, sorrowful, doggy eyes. This lure, the lure of the cat, is the dialectic between carnivorous eye and hungry gaze, the embodiment of dogged desire, drooling yet dissatisfied, fur yet paint. The promise of chase and conquest, all are pictured here.
Ladies and gentlemen, this evening I'm going to be administering the visual literacy test. Now, although I know many of you here did not expect to be tested this evening, this simple exam should not be cause for any undue alarm. Indeed, before we start, I'd like to reassure you that the museum has been administering this test in conjunction with several eminent mental health institutions since the early 1960s, when it received a sizable grant from the RJR Nabisco Corporation. The grant, targeted at Xeroxing expenditures, was established with the intention of finding out who really knows what about great art. Now, do you have a number 2 pencil? Or if you...
So I would leave it here, me that has been seated like them for an incredible amount of hours in front of the computer, with only one wish, which is that I hope that you enjoyed, as I loved the video, and that you can also find it online, and there is a couple of other performances by them that you can find online, and continue enjoying it and continue cherishing the work of artists and supporting them, and try to create conditions for them to be able to produce and to be with us, and actually, conditions where new possibilities after this crisis can be invented. And I really think so. So good night to everyone, and lots of joy, lots of love. Ciao.